Welcome back to Built from Nothing. What if I told you the biggest YouTuber in the world, the man running billion-view videos, global businesses, and an empire worth hundreds of millions, started with absolutely nothing? No money, no connections, no fancy equipment. Just a sick teenager in a small bedroom in North Carolina, uploading videos that barely got views. Most kids would have quit. But Jimmy Donaldson, better known as MrBeast, became obsessed. He studied YouTube like it was life or death. He reinvested every dollar he made, pushed his body to the limit, and gambled it all on one impossible dream: cracking the algorithm. And he didn't just crack it. He rewrote it. But before we dive into how he went from broke teenager to the biggest YouTuber on earth, I want you to get involved. Imagine you're in his shoes. Would you have risked everything, even dropping out of college, for a dream nobody believed in? Drop your answer in the comments, and while you're here, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next story of someone who built themselves from nothing. All right, let's get into it. Our story starts not in a boardroom, but in a small town called Greenville, North Carolina. It's a quiet place. The kind of place where life has a predictable rhythm. But in a house in Greenville, rhythm was being replaced by the frantic, clicking beat of a keyboard. This is where we find Jimmy. A kid who, by his own admission, wasn't the most social, wasn't the most athletic. His world was the internet. At the age of 12, he discovered YouTube. And it wasn't just a pastime. It wasn't just a hobby. It was a window to a universe of possibility. He started a channel. He called it MrBeast 600. The videos were, well, they were what you'd expect. Commentary on the new Call of Duty. Videos about Minecraft. Trying to predict the end of the world. The audio was fuzzy. The lighting was terrible. The content was indistinguishable from a million other kids doing the exact same thing. But here's the thing that separated Jimmy from those million other kids: an obsessive, almost pathological level of analysis. While other creators just uploaded and hoped, Jimmy was dissecting. He was studying the algorithm like a scientist studying a new strain of virus. What makes a title clickable? What makes a thumbnail irresistible? How long is the audience's attention span at the 47-second mark? He wasn't just making videos, he was conducting experiments. And for years, every single experiment failed. He'd spend hours, days, weeks on a video. He'd edit through the night. He'd upload it with that flicker of hope in his chest. And the result? 10 views, 50 views, maybe 100 if he was lucky. For most people, this is the point where the dream dies. This is where you close the laptop, get a real job, and accept that you tried and failed. But Jimmy's brain didn't work that way. He saw each failure not as a defeat, but as data. A negative result is still a result. It tells you what doesn't work. He was slowly, painstakingly mapping the uncharted territory of the YouTube algorithm. This obsession came at a cost. High school was a blur. His social life was non-existent. Then he made a decision that to everyone around him seemed like absolute madness. He enrolled at East Carolina University and dropped out after just 2 weeks. He told his mother he couldn't waste another second. He was all in. The boat was burned. There was no plan B. There was only YouTube. He was broke. He was living at home. He had no income, no prospects, and a dream that, by every observable metric, was a complete fantasy. The pressure was immense. The doubt was a constant, whispering voice. But Jimmy had something that was louder than the doubt. He had an obsession. And that obsession was about to meet its match, a relentless, inhuman work ethic. What comes next is the chapter most people never see. This is the myth of the overnight success. We see the explosion and we think it was luck. We don't see the 1,000 days of digging in the dark, alone, with no guarantee you'll ever find light. For Jimmy, those days turned into years. This was the grind. This was the sacrifice. Imagine this routine. Wake up. Make a video. Edit a video. Study analytics. Sleep, repeat. For years. No weekends. No holidays. No parties. His world was his bedroom. His colleagues were the figures on his analytics dashboard. He was so broke that when his videos did make a few dollars from ads, he didn't cash it out. He didn't buy a new game or some clothes. He reinvested every single penny back into the channel. $10 for a better thumbnail? Done. $50 for a slightly better microphone? Invested. He was playing the ultimate long game, treating his channel not as a hobby, but as a startup company with an initial investment of $0. He began to understand that on a platform flooded with content, you couldn't just be good. You couldn't just be consistent. You had to be unforgettable. You had to create things that were so bizarre, so extreme, so utterly compelling that people had no choice but to click, to watch, and to tell their friends. This led to what we can now call the absurdist era of MrBeast. The experiments became more extreme. He'd read the dictionary for 24 hours straight. He'd count to 100,000, a video that took him 40 hours to film, his voice growing hoarse and ragged, a psychological and physical marathon for a video that most would find incomprehensible. Why? Because no one else would do it. Because it was a data point. What happens when you create the most tedious, grueling, seemingly pointless video imaginable? Would anyone watch? The answer was yes. Slowly, then all at once. The counting to 100,000 video was a turning point. It didn't go viral in the modern sense, but it did something more important. It proved his thesis. Extreme effort, extreme commitment, extreme originality, it got noticed. It was a signal flare in the fog of content. People started to whisper, "Have you seen this guy who counted to 100,000? He's insane." He was learning the currency of the new internet, not just views, but attention. And he was willing to pay for it with his time, his comfort, and his sanity. He was running a marathon at a sprint pace, and the finish line was nowhere in sight. He was physically and mentally exhausted, surviving on the fumes of pure belief. But deep down, he knew he was getting closer. The data was adding up. The algorithm was starting to whisper back. And soon it was about to scream. Then it happened. The pivot. The moment the scientist in him combined with the showman, and lightning struck. He had a revelation. He understood that giveaways, money, the sheer visceral shock of life-changing wealth, that was the ultimate click. The ultimate retention. But everyone was doing giveaways. How could he do it differently? How could he own it? His genius was in the presentation. He wouldn't just give away $1,000. He'd give away $10,000. He wouldn't just hand it to someone in an envelope. He'd fill a bathtub with it. He'd bury it in a backyard and give someone a map. He'd hide it in a car and give away the car. The money wasn't the video. The spectacle of the money was the video. The first major viral hit was giving a random homeless person $10,000. It was raw, it was emotional, and it was real. The internet lost its mind. Then came giving a random person $100,000. The thumbnails were electric. Jimmy's shocked face, the towering stacks of cash, the impossible sums. The titles were irresistible promises. But here's the most important part, the strategic masterstroke that most people miss. He reinvested everything. A sponsorship would pay him $20,000. He wouldn't keep a dime. He'd take that $20,000, add it to his own meager savings, and give away $30,000 on camera. The video would make $40,000 from ads. He'd then take that $40,000 and give away $50,000 in the next video. It was a perpetual motion machine of content. He was playing with fire, risking everything on every upload. But he knew the math was on his side. The bigger the stunt, the bigger the growth. The bigger the growth, the bigger the sponsorships. The bigger the sponsorships, the bigger the stunts he could pull. It was a feedback loop of exponential growth. This wasn't just philanthropy, it was the most ambitious content strategy ever executed. He was weaponizing generosity. The videos were no longer just experiments, they were events. Last to leave challenges with insane prizes. The recreation of Squid Game with a real massive cash prize. Each video was bigger, more complex, more expensive, and more watched than the last. He was no longer just a YouTuber. He was a phenomenon. The kid from Greenville was now commanding the attention of tens of millions. He had cracked the code. But Jimmy Donaldson wasn't satisfied with just being YouTube's biggest star. He had a new idea. He looked at the empire of attention he'd built and asked one simple, terrifying question. What else can I build? This is where the story evolves from a tale of viral success into a lesson in empire building. Jimmy had the most valuable currency in the modern world, an audience's trust. And he decided to use it to build something lasting. He saw that other influencers launched products, merch, energy drinks, supplements, and they often felt hollow. Cash grabs. He wanted to build real, scalable businesses that could exist beyond his YouTube channel. He wanted to create brands. The first test was MrBeast Burger. The idea was insane. Don't build restaurants. Don't buy real estate. Partner with existing restaurants all over the country, use their kitchens during their off hours, and create a virtual restaurant brand that exists only for delivery apps. He announced it to his audience with a simple video. The demand was instantaneous and catastrophic in the best way possible. The app crashed. Restaurants were overwhelmed. They sold 1 million burgers in the first 3 months. He had just disrupted the entire food industry without ever flipping a single patty himself. It proved his model: leverage your audience for instant demand and leverage technology for instant scale. Then came Feastables chocolate bars, a crowded market dominated by giants like Hershey's. But again, Jimmy's understanding of the game was superior. He didn't just sell chocolate, he created an experience. Each bar had a QR code for a massive giveaway. He turned buying a candy bar into a potential lottery ticket. He used his videos as a global multi-million-dollar advertising platform. Suddenly, Feastables bars were on shelves in every major supermarket, competing with the giants on their own turf. Behind it all was the engine room, MrBeast Studios. This was no longer a bedroom operation. This was a full-scale production company with a team of dozens, researchers, editors, producers, logistics experts. They were no longer making videos, they were producing blockbuster content. Each video was a short film with a 6 to 7 figure budget, weeks of planning, and Hollywood-level execution. He had vertically integrated his entire operation. He conceived the idea, funded it with his business revenue, produced it with his own company, marketed it to his own audience, and sold products to that same audience through his own brands. It was a closed loop, a self-sustaining ecosystem. He wasn't at the mercy of the algorithm anymore. He was the algorithm. The broke teenager was now a CEO. The bedroom was now a headquarters. The dream was now a multi-million-dollar empire built in real time in front of the entire world. So what is the legacy of Jimmy Donaldson? It's easy to point to the numbers. The billions of views. The hundreds of millions of subscribers. The millions of dollars given away. The thousands of trees planted through Team Trees. The millions of meals donated through Team C's. But his true legacy is far more profound. He changed the rules of the game. Before MrBeast, the blueprint for YouTube success was to find a niche and serve it consistently. After MrBeast, the blueprint is to think like a studio. To prioritize scale, quality, and value above all else. He proved that the highest production value on the platform could also be the most watched. He forced every other creator to level up. He redefined influencer marketing. A sponsorship wasn't just a 60-second read anymore, it was the entire premise of a multi-million-view spectacle. He redefined philanthropy for a generation. making giving away money not just an act of charity, but the world's most entertaining content. But perhaps his most powerful lesson is one of mindset. Jimmy Donaldson is a living testament to the power of obsessive focus, relentless execution, and irrational perseverance. He looked at a platform everyone thought was saturated and found an ocean of opportunity. He was broke, but he thought like a billionaire. He had no resources, so he turned his creativity into his greatest resource. He taught us that you don't need permission to build something. You don't need a diploma. You don't need investors. You need an idea. You need to be willing to work when no one is watching. You need to be willing to fail publicly, again and again, and treat each failure as a lesson. You need to be willing to reinvest everything you have, your time, your money, your energy, back into your dream. His story isn't about YouTube. It's about what happens when you refuse to let go. When your obsession becomes your craft becomes your product, and your product changes the world. He was built from nothing, not from money, not from connections, but from an idea. And that is something every single one of us has access to. That kid is the whole point. He's in all of us. That dream you have that feels too big? That idea you can't shake? That's your starting point. Your bedroom. You're nothing. The question is, what are you going to build from it? Jimmy's story is proof that it's possible. But we want to hear from you. What's your nothing? What's the dream you're building from? Let us know in the comments below. Tell us your story. And if this video lit a fire in you, if you believe that anything is possible with enough grind and enough heart, then douse a favor. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe to Built From Nothing. Because we're just getting started. And we'll see you on the next one.